2 weeks. 2 weeks left. That's all we got. Make the playoffs. And it's a whole new season from there. Welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby, and I'm fired up. Way to motivate me, Noah. Let's
Thanks,
go.
dude. Here we go. Two weeks to go. Let's get
go.
it. And we're back with the most entertaining fantasy podcast on the planet. Recapping week 12. Wild week. Felt like kickers got a little bit of vengeance. We got some vengeance on kickers because kickers sucked except for one.
I got screwed again.
Yeah.
I've had some time to calm down, but I was actually in such a bad mood on Sunday night because I ended up losing because of Stafford's garbage time touchdown, but I didn't lose because of Stafford. I lost because of Will Lutz and his 22 points. Get rid of kickers. There is no strategy to kickers. What an absolute waste of fantasy. How do you possibly plan for a kicker? Who's drafting? What kicker have you decided to draft? I'm in too good of a mood right now to get into this, and I want to stay in my happy mood. It's Thanksgiving, it's holidays.
Let's get past it.
Ban kickers. Let's go.
Get kickers out of here. Listen,
Get
we got
kickers out.
Fluke for real. Waiver wire, victory lap, if we can muster up anything on my end. No Thursday night preview, and we'll tell you why here in a second, because we got a Thanksgiving special coming out on Thursday. That's right. Go ahead and start out your Thanksgiving with your favorite Fourth and Trollers on YouTube. We're going to be dropping a Thanksgiving special. Got into our Discord, said, hey, what do you guys want to see for the Fourth and Troll Thanksgiving special? Got some insight, some information, and we are going to be dropping some bold predictions, talking about the biggest turkeys, talking about which fantasy players we're most thankful for, and doing a little bit of a Thanksgiving dinner fantasy draft. So make sure you join us on Thursday morning, just before the parade. Probably not before the parade, probably during the parade. Probably during your parade nap. After your parade nap, you can wake up and start out your Thanksgiving with Fourth and Troll. Follow us on all of our socials. We're going to be dropping some content there for you on Thanksgiving as well. And if you want to sign James Cook jersey, that's linked down below. That's to our Patreon, and you can join our Discord community. Or giving away a signed James Cook jersey. Wes is breaking TVs, and go to fourthandtrollstore.com if you want to break a TV wearing a sexy muscle tee.
How far back do you think I can go?
Twerk.
You think I can?
Twerk.
There you go.
Yeah.
Think I can just do the episode from here?
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll be able to.
You can do the news segment from right here.
Yeah, that's good.
No, I can't. I'll do it.
We're having a great time here. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and we got a little bit of news to talk about, and then we'll jump into things.
Gosh. All right. Well, everyone already knows, but, it happened after our episode on the last episode. But, Daniel Jones, I've never seen this in my life. I asked my father, he's been watching football for the better part of 40 years, 45 years maybe. I have no idea. But I've asked him, it's like, has this ever happened where the starting quarterback was cut in the middle of the season? He goes, I can't think of that ever happening. But here's exactly what we have written down just for a fun little recap here. After his benching and brief stint at scout team safety, for those that didn't know, the Giants cut Daniel Jones. He has cleared waivers and expected to sign with a new team in the near future. Right now, we don't have the information. I hear his top candidates are the Vikings and the Ravens. Ravens getting a dub last night is probably a better sign. They might need to back up. I have no idea. I know the Dolphins are in the running as well if they're somewhat competitive in the playoff race, but we will see where he ends up. Very interesting. I think the Giants fans are on a certain watch list as they continue to see Saquon put up 300-plus total yards and then cut Daniel Jones. What a horror. I feel so bad for them.
No, but you guys asked for it.
Yeah, I guess so. And then in the same stadium, at MetLife Stadium, we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, who reportedly doesn't want to play for the Jets in 2025. I've now heard stories about the owner, Woody Johnson, pulled them in week 4 at the 2-2 start and was like, "We sure we want to go with Rodgers?" Like, yeah. And he's won one game since. But despite every single move he wanted to be made, done for him with all the players, he's going to move on from that team. And I cannot wait for the documentary Sunday on 4th and Troll Fantasy. Stick around, subscribe. Make sure you're going to enjoy that. Panthers tight end Jatavion Sanders, Noah's stud, who was having a good game, did not end up panning out in the way we wanted to because he reported a neck injury, but he avoided a serious neck injury during that game, nearly with the Chiefs. I don't know if you remember, but like 4 years ago with McCaffrey, they almost beat the Chiefs as well. So I don't know what the Panthers have against Mahomes, but they're very good. It's going to be tough for the team to continue evaluating his injury status, but just keep that in mind because he is a pretty good player. Gardner Minshew, done for the year, broken collarbone. That's it. Aiden O'Connell could be cleared off the IR because he was on IR. That's why it was Minshew. But they're playing on Black Friday against Kansas City. So it's likely good old Desmond Ridder gets the start against the Chiefs. Oh, go Raiders. Good
holiday football.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a good time to go shopping instead.
Yeah.
Josh Downs suffered a shoulder injury on Sunday. He's considered a long shot to play, which means that you should just don't expect him, bench him if you've got him, and then look for him in the final week of regular season. And Austin Eckler concussed again. This guy has had so many concussions this year. Austin Eckler concussed against the Cowboys in their loss, likely to miss Week 13. His teammate, Brian Robinson Jr., suffered an ankle injury as well in that loss. Guess who one of our waiver wire ads is going to be? Stick around for that, but we're going to be cautiously pessimistic about Brian Robinson Jr.'s status and think that he's not going to play. Last piece of news here, David Montgomery suffered a shoulder injury, did not return action. As most of you know, the Lions play every Thanksgiving, so keep that in mind. He may or may not play. I really hope he does because I've got some high expectations for him against his old team and the running back on the Bears against his old team as well. So we'll see how that happens. That's it. That's it for the news going into Thanksgiving. Let's talk about a couple of things we got right. Victory lap.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Ka-chow, mater.
Ka-chow, mater. Let's talk about a few victory laps here. 4th and Troll. Ka-chow. All right, so we actually got a couple of good things right
franchise, by the way, dude. Cars.
Which one? Who? Cars? Oh,
Yours.
okay. First
Cars
one I love.
He's gonna. No, yeah. First one, classic. Great. Go. Let's fix the road.
Like it.
Second one. You ready for some nuclear warfare? Like what? Like what? What? It was such a hard shift, like immediately, and it was like, wait, hang on, wait.
Yeah. It was
and
an
then the third one.
Film.
All right, we're back, mater. Like it was just like it was so.
I never
strange.
saw the fourth one. Anyway, was there a fourth one or was there a third one?
I don't know. There's a third one, but the third one's back to normal. It was just.
So okay, you got me on Cars. Can I just let you know that the Cars PlayStation 2 video game, one of the greatest games I've ever played in my life. Yeah, that is one of the most impressive games ever. If you ever come across Cars, the Disney for PlayStation, time for Victory Lap Tuesday. All right, let's jump into this here. Fantasy football, that's what this show is about. I said my stud. I paired my quarterback and wide receiver for my studs of Week 12, and the wide receiver sure here, that was Ladd McConkey. Solid game. Did not score and still had a really great game, which I always love seeing. That's always bright future. I think he's probably a lock in maybe the flex option, not wide receiver 2 for some people, but his last 2 weeks of regular season. If Herbert had scored a touchdown, it might have been a different story, but still top 15 on the week. So I'm going to throw that in as just a little added bonus there. But one of the proudest studs and duds I've had this season, I call DK Metcalf a dud. Historically, he just does not do well against the Cardinals. He's never scored 15 points against the Cardinals. And that happened again. And I'm so glad because I haven't checked on all the other social medias, but on YouTube, it over 10,000 views as Noah so promptly put DK as the thumbnail for the YouTube short, flooding in lots of views, lots of questions, lots of likes. And that was accurate. DK does not do against the Cardinals. Remember that. And Anthony Richardson, go figure, was a dud. That whole thing against the Jets, that was a fluke. We had some comments saying like, duh, of course Anthony Richardson is a fluke, is a dud. This is going to be a terrible take. Why would you not say that? Well, because he scored 30 points. And it was the second time he scored 30 points. So you responded to one of the comments too.
Yeah, it's just I want to point that out. It's like, listen, not everyone's degenerates like us. and is like in tune with everything. Like some people need a little insight and need to learn some things. And if someone was newer to fantasy and saw 30 points from a free agent on their waiver wire, they'd be like, oh, should I play this guy? And the reality is Anthony Richardson has been a top 5 quarterback in half of his healthy games in his career.
As a starter, just like it's nuts.
It's just as a starter. It's just like he has less experience now at this point than Bo Nix does in the NFL, which is bananas to say. That's stupid.
Crazy.
I know,
that's
it's
crazy.
Ridiculous.
Bo Nix has also played about 1,000 games of football already.
Bo Nix had a 280 game college career. So
look how he's doing. He's balling out. And here's another great one too. We were letting people know this is the time of year in fantasy football where you start getting your handcuffs. You start preparing for worst case scenarios. You ensure that you have particular running backs and you have their handcuffs for the backup role. And we said Gus Edwards was a waiver wire ad for last week. We hope you listened because that's what I said. And I think I said that even a week before that, too. Something like that. I've been hammering Gus Edwards. And not only did J.K. Dobbins go down on Monday night, but then Gus Edwards scores a touchdown. So, obviously, we're going to remind you in our waiver wire segment coming up. But Noah has a couple of pretty interesting victory laps I think are really worth pointing out here.
Yeah, Wes so kindly had found some, gone back through the archives and found some victory laps for me because my initial notes here were I woke up today and that was good. So, like, my studs and duds were completely backwards this week. It was so annoying. Like, I felt so good about the Jatavian Sanders one, started him in a league, and it was like going really well. And then it was like and he still hit that benchmark. He still has 49 yards or a touchdown in like every one of his last 6 games. So he's still been awesome. But anyway, it was tough for me to find some things. But I mean, I told you Javonte Williams just wasn't worth messing with the Denver backfield. 2 fantasy points, like terrible stuff there. I told you Christian Watson last week was a fluke. Don't chase the points. He had less than 1 point in the entire week. And Romeo Doubs went out in that game. So there were more opportunities there for him. And then I told you Deebo Samuel, these performances were for real. And I don't know what the hell's going on here. And we're going to talk about it a little more in Fluke for real. But that's it. That's what I got. You know, it's fun times here. Should we just do a Cars watch party right now?
Dude, I got a TV right here.
Dude, I know you
just put on Cars. The first one, of course.
Yeah. And then just standing in your hallway. Yeah, good stuff. Let's jump into a waiver wire, Wes. You already mentioned one of these guys a little earlier, but a little bit of a light week for waivers until this Monday night game. We had like one guy that it was like, hey, this is like a pretty specific instance that you're going to need to pick this guy up if you do. But I mean, here's one guy. But now there's a couple worth mentioning. So Wes, go for it. Start us out.
Yeah, here. I've got one player. I'm going to reiterate what I said last week for a waiver wire, especially with what happened Monday night. As Noah's going to rattle off a lot of players in a very short waiver wire. So first things first, Gus Edwards. Obviously, you're going to go get him. We don't know the extent of J.K. Dobbins' knee injuries, so of course it may not actually benefit you for the very next week. But this is the whole point of this part of fantasy football is you get these insurance guys so that you're the one who has them in case anything happens. Get your own running backs handcuffs as well, but if someone else has them, go for someone else's. Just go for the next best handcuffs. And Noah has those running backs mentioned as well as a couple other wide receivers as well.
Yeah. I just want to point out here real quick. At this point in the season, if they're not cracking your lineup, like I understand depth at your positions, but like if I was a James Conner owner and I also had Josh Downs or I also had it's hard because he scored a touchdown this week, but I would consider it with like DeAndre Hopkins or like Devontae Adams. At this point, I would go pick up Trey Benson over rostering one of those 3 wide receivers if they weren't going in my starting lineup regularly, which they're not. It's so important to have your safety nets and your handcuffs. So just a handful of guys here. I'll start out with some honorable mentions. Kenneth Gainwell, we want to talk about him, scored a cute little touchdown and is clearly, while Saquon is obviously the lead back and superhuman, Gainwell is being very efficient this year, and it's in part thanks to that offensive line. And so he would be able to slot in as at least a flex option for you if Saquon goes down for you. Tyler Algier, similar scenario, has shown and proven that he is efficient and he can put up points for your fantasy teams in his opportunities. And then Ray Davis as well, same situation. So all three of these guys, handcuffs. A couple other guys here, 3 wide receivers. Noah Brown for the Washington Commanders. Target machine, has been seeing lots of targets ever since he saved the game against the Chicago Bears. And he's been a really, really strong player for them. If he can find the end zone and if Jaden Daniels can get a little bit of passing game mojo back, he'll be able to be a decent flex play for you. Adam Thielen is going to be a little bit more involved as things are going forward. As he returned, didn't have as big of a week this week, but went to him on some clutch plays. And so he was definitely involved there. And then another wide receiver in Carolina, and I'm not sure really where this one pans out to, but David Moore, veteran wide receiver, kind of a journeyman, has bounced around a bit. 10 targets, scored a touchdown. He's been on the field a ton since they traded Deontay Johnson. So he's just someone worth monitoring as Bryce Young feels like he's getting a little bit more comfortable. But the main guy here, and this is we had decided on this guy before, obviously before J.K. Dobbins went out. But the main guy here is Jeremy McNichols for the Washington Commanders. We talked about Ryan Robinson. We talked about Austin Eckler. Brian Robinson, similar scenario to what happened to Joe Mixon early in the year. His ankle got rolled up on. He exited the game. It was eerily similar how it happened, to be honest, because he exited the game and then came back and attempted to continue to play and then went back out. And it's the exact same way it happened with Brian Robinson. And then Joe Mixon missed 3 weeks. So we don't necessarily fully have the grand scope of things for the Washington backfield right now. But I'm not expecting Brian Robinson to play this week. And then Austin Eckler had his second concussion within a span of like 2 months. So Jeremy McNichols is a starting running back on the waiver wire, and that's value. And you chase that. If you're in need of a spot start, obviously there's no bye weeks in week 13, but if you're in need of a spot start, you need a flex play, McNichols is going to be a decent option for you. He'll have a lot of good opportunities there. Mostly I'm more excited as a Jaden Daniels manager because that rushing touchdown upside gets boosted a little bit. So there you go. So Jeremy McNichols and then a handful of honorable mentions along with Gus Edwards is going to round out the waiver wire for us. A little bit of a light week, but just get prepared for the playoffs there. So there you go. Excuse me. Let's jump into Fluke for real, Wes. What do we got?
All right.
15 guys across the whole segment here to talk about. Start out with some good guys. Bucky Irving, 27.1 fantasy points. I would like to apologize to the person on TikTok who commented, who was like James Conner, Tyron Tracy Jr., Kenneth Walker III, Bucky Irving, sit one. And I was like, sit Bucky Irving. I was like, those other 3 guys are like Tracy's my start for the week. That didn't pan out. Connor's been awesome. Kenneth Walker's been awesome. And then like Bucky had more points than all of them combined. So it was like, oh, cool. Nice. That sounds good. But 27.1 fantasy points, 12 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. 6 for 6 for 64 receiving yards in the air in the passing game. This is where are you at with Bucky, Wes? Because this is something we gotta break down a little bit here.
It's disheartening as a Rachaad White truther and someone who had high expectations for him in the top 10. We both put him top 10. We finally started to see that over the last few weeks, but this is where Rachaad White gets his fantasy value. I mean, he had less than 12 points in PPR because he doesn't have the 6 targets that Bucky Irving saw. So I think I need to check the Buccaneers schedule coming up. It's pretty
Carolina,
damn sweet.
Vegas, the Chargers, Dallas, Carolina.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine getting Carolina twice on the line, and you get to benefit from a running back matchup against Carolina twice.
I have the Buccaneers defense. I got them on the Bucs bye week because I saw this schedule. So yeah. I'm loving this. I think this is for real for Irving, and I don't think there's a reason to not bench Rachaad White just yet. I mean, it's possible.
I'm not too worried about him. Yeah, I'm not too worried about Rachaad. I fully agree that this is for real. Bucky Irving is quietly having an insane 2 months. Especially in fantasy football. Since he took over, not even took over really since it was like I'm looking at this like Bucky. Hang on, Bucky Irving's the RB21 on the season. That's like awesome. Like I want to read you his
started.
Yeah, I want to read you his game log since week 3. So week 3 against Denver, 11.4 and then 12.5. So fine, whatever. We're talking about, is this guy for real here? Build up a little bit. And then he gets 5.6 against Atlanta in that overtime game. He has that fumble at the 1 yard line. He almost scores a touchdown in that game. So we were all like, oh man, he almost had it. New Orleans, 18.5. Baltimore, 16.7. Atlanta, 15.4. Kansas City, who they shut down all running backs, except for Chuba Hubbard, evidently, this week. Anyway. Kansas City, 6.4. But then, San Francisco, 17.7. And then this week, 27.1. Like, Bucky is really, really good. I was, like, not convinced that there was going to be something because the class was weak and everything. But Bucky Irving is awesome, and he deserves spots in lineups. Top 15. And I'm glad I have him in like one dynasty league, and I'm really bummed that I don't have him in redraft anywhere because he's awesome this year, man. He's great. Amir Abdullah, 17.5 fantasy points, 8 for 28 on the ground, and then 5 receptions for 37 yards and a receiving touchdown. I can't believe this is a deciding factor. If Gardner Minshew was going to continue to be the quarterback here, I would. And there's a lot of stipulations here. And Zamir White and Alexander Madison missed next week. I would then consider Amir Abdullah going forward. But unfortunately, I think this is probably just a strike in the pan. And it was fun. And I started him in a dynasty league, and that was cool. But like,
I can't touch any Raiders running back with a 10-foot pole right now. I can't touch anybody in Las Vegas except for Brock Bowers. Like, that is it.
And he didn't even want to touch Brock Bowers this week.
No, nobody. I mean, dude, don't even worry about it. I mean, he's a handsome guy.
Yeah, he's
no
hot.
Shame.
Anyway, all good. Sorry, Brock. Anyway, all right, cool. Jordan Addison, 30.2 fantasy points. Jordan Addison has been quietly pretty solid over the last few weeks. I have a hard time like moving forward, feeling confident. But I mean, like,
it's like they didn't start.
I don't think they're going to coexist. Like, I don't like Jefferson. We'll talk about in the bad side of Fluke for real here, but he had a very down week. So I don't think these two guys will coexist. And if I'm going to bet on one of these wide receivers, especially now with Hawkinson back in tow and playing really well for them, I'm going to bet on one of the two receivers to produce well for me. It's going to be Jefferson. But also Chicago pass defense is like really good. So
good.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
it's so late to be,
but like,
I don't know. It's so late in the season to be considering Jordan Addison over who you've probably been playing right now. There are a lot of players that still start over Addison for the floor play that I think can help me win these next 2 weeks. So I just, all in all, I say Fluke.
Yeah, I think it's more of a scenario where, like, if it's week 14, when I know I have Cortland Sutton going on a bye and I need someone for the final week of the regular season, I'm not like shaking in my boots that I'm throwing Addison in my lineup. But it's like, I'm not like comparing him when everyone in my lineup is available to like my starting guys. So I think that's probably a decent way there. What the hell, dude? Jalen Waddle, dude, eat my shorts, bro. This is like so, of course it happens. Yeah. Like, I was like close to dropping him last week. And it was like, you know what? If this wrist injury with Tyreek ends up being something more, like, and he ends up missing time, like, I'll be glad I still have Waddle. He's not going to get in the lineup, though. He's going to be on the bench. And then he goes off for 28.4 points, 8 for 9 in the air for 144 receiving yards and a touchdown. Like, here's the guy. Like, here's the dude that like was like, oh, he's going to be back to this kind of production. And we felt like we might be able to get a little bit more after week 1, and then it's just 28.4. It's great. I love to see it. I'm a Dolphins fan. It's awesome, and it's such a fluke. And I can't. commit
It's
to
entirely
it.
possible this is for real. It's possible because the Dolphins have won like 3 straight games, and
Yeah.
if they somehow beat the Packers on Thanksgiving, this Dolphins team is suddenly at 500, and they are just going to keep cruising and be in the playoffs. Like these are some of my favorite
Yeah.
teams to have fantasy players on. Are the teams that do have a good offense and they are fighting for their lives to just make playoffs because they're going to keep going all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to say this is for real. I do remember about 2 years ago against the Packers on the Christmas games.
On the Christmas game, the long
Jalen Waddle started
rack
out that
touchdown.
game with
like
a great touchdown. They're
like
playing
an
the
8-yard
Packers.
in route, and then he just took it all
Yep,
the way
they're
on the
playing the Packers this weekend on
Could
Thanksgiving.
be.
So he might
I've got some bold
be
predictions in our Thanksgiving special that could mean Jalen Waddle pops around here for another big game, but we'll see.
I
We'll
believe
see.
it.
Tune in on Thursday.
It's
for that.
tricky. It's tricky
definitely.
for what I can see this being for real, but I think you wait another week.
Yeah, he's not going back in the lineup yet. I can't chase that, especially with no one on bye week in week 13. But there you go. DJ Moore. This is a guy I think we got to talk about because the Bears finally fired their offensive coordinator, and now 2 weeks in a row they've still lost both these games. But this offense looks better. Caleb looks better. Caleb looks more comfortable. DJ Moore is rejuvenated as far as his fantasy production goes. He's had 7 targets in each of his last 2 games, 26.9 fantasy points. I think I'm feeling similarly with DJ Moore how I do about Jordan Addison, in that like I don't think he's cracking the lineup yet, especially this week. But like I think this is if I'm going to say rest of season, if I'm expecting more of these kind of games versus how his first 2/3 of the year was, I would expect more of this down the road than I would the prior. I think is kind of where I'm at on that. However, with his teammate Keenan Allen, 23.6 fantasy points, 15 targets. It's such a fluke, dude. Like, please don't chase it. Please don't chase it. I promise you.
Yeah.
And I could eat my words because I'm expecting big things out of Caleb on Thanksgiving against Detroit, but like I really believe this is just
no, because you know what Keenan Allen started out the season with 11 targets. He started game 1 with 11 targets, and look where that's gotten him. So there's more just statistical reason that I'm not buying into this, and I think this is a fluke as well.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Noah Gray, last guy here, because dude, I guess we got to talk about this guy. Dude,
started him in a
dynasty. That was crazy. That was insane. Noah Gray, 22.6 fantasy points, 4 for 4 for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns over his last 2 games. Yeah. He's been a top 5 tight end each of the last 2 weeks. It's easy to look at this and say fluke, but there's a piece of me that's like, is there should we be picking him up? Man. Like, he wasn't in our waiver wire segment for a reason, because it wasn't like, hey, think about it. But like,
okay,
so this is annoying.
Here's my just reaction. Okay, we kind of go through all the different ideas about Noah Gray. First things first, Mahomes has been a better fantasy quarterback over the last month and a half. Okay, he has improved significantly. DeAndre Hopkins, we talked about it. DeAndre Hopkins may have saved Patrick Mahomes as a fantasy quarterback, and Mahomes was a great fantasy quarterback over Week 12. And there were some questions about Mahomes or this guy, and usually we were saying the other guy over Mahomes. And not that the other guys did bad, but Mahomes did great. So the idea that Mahomes has been targeting Noah Gray in the red zone that many times in back-to-back games is a little too interesting for me to fully dismiss this as a fluke. But I think we know the logical answer is to just say this is a fluke. Like, there's no way that Noah Gray does this again Black Friday. if he scores one touchdown on Black Friday, I don't care if he has 7 points exactly for 7.1, 1 yard touchdown for one catch, and that's all he does.
We got to talk
Then I
about
say
it. Yeah,
for real.
we got
Then I say
we
for
got to
real.
think about it. Yeah,
but
I mean, he's had four or more targets in 4 of his last 8 games. So, like, I mean,
are you going to start Noah Gray or Mark Andrews?
I'm going to start Mark Andrews.
Right, because he's the starter. He's a starter, and Andrews can't stop scoring. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What a headache to have him because he doesn't do anything and then just gets in the end zone. I was like, whoa, another 13-point game.
Did it again.
But yeah. I think that's the answer. It's like we just know logically we can't move forward with Noah Gray.
Yeah, that's fair. All right,
so funny.
Let's talk about some big guys.
Big guys.
Big guys. Kyler Murray, dude. I texted you Sunday morning and I was like, I've had Kyler in all week. And I'm wondering, I'm hearing reports of rain in Seattle. Do you know that? It rains in Seattle.
I've heard, yeah.
And I'm just wondering, it feels like it might be James Conner day. It was not. But I'm just a little concerned. What do we think? And you were like, let's give Jaden one more shot here. Thank God I did. I mean, if I had put Kyler in, I still would have ended up winning in this league that I was making that decision in. But 10.3 fantasy points, 24 for 37, 285 yards. Nice. 285, 24 for 37. Like the amount of pass attempts. Like it. It's cool. 1 interception. Don't love that.
0 touchdowns.
0 touchdowns. Actually, I'll touch on that in a sec. Only 2 rushes for 9 yards. I heard someone talking about this, and it was like Kyler can come out and like look like the most like incredible pocket passing quarterback one week and just be awesome, and his arm is incredible, and then he can come out the next week and he looks like the most paranoid toddler in back there taking a snap, like ever. Like, dude, his happy feet, like his jumpy feet when a play is breaking down, it's like I don't know what's up. I don't know what happens. I will say he threw a touchdown and he got called back on a penalty. If you're in 6-point passing and he gets you to 16 points instead of 10.3, you're probably like more okay than not. And then you're probably not thrilled, but I mean, it's still fine. I'm more disappointed with the 2 rushes. I don't know what's up.
That's the big question.
This is the big question mark. And I think it's just like when he has like he's averaging upwards of 20 points in game. I had it and then I didn't write it down. I believe he's averaging upwards of 20 points in games where he has 5 or more rush attempts, one way or another this season. And so he's been awesome there. I just think he needs to be more mobile, and I don't know why he ends up not rushing more, but it's,
I don't know either.
I was really trying to, we talked about it a little bit. I was really trying to sell Jaden Daniels at the deadline because I have Kyler, and I'm glad I didn't, because it's especially this upcoming week now. It's like, well, neither of these starting running backs for Washington. Like, probably go Jaden over Kyler against Minnesota this week. Like, probably that'll probably be the play there, and then it's just probably a matchup pick. But
in playoffs,
I don't know.
I'm
happy with Kyler.
Yeah, I'm probably going to start Kyler Murray because I think in playoffs the passing game will be great. It's why we reconvinced ourselves that Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to have a great fantasy playoff schedule, because it's some of the best teams to score against in the receiving game. So I think there's still some hope there, but
I agree.
You can probably look who the waiver wire options are for your quarterbacks and consider them over Kyler until playoffs, if you make playoffs.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill, 9.8 fantasy points. I think it's time to have the conversation of, I don't think you have to start Tyreek Hill just because he's Tyreek Hill. If you were on the waiver wire this season and you were like smart about it and savvy with it, and oh man, I had one name I was about to say right now, and then I was thinking about my roster in this league where I have Tyreek, and I'm fortunate to have Mike Evans and Cooper Kupp and Calvin Ridley in this league. So I don't think I need to start Tyreek Hill in this league. I also have Jerry Jeudy in that league, and I almost think I would start Jerry Jeudy over Tyreek Hill right now. I just think this is at the point where we're at. The passing volume that Jerry Jeudy gets, he is, especially without Cedric Tillman this upcoming week.
Right.
Probably with the concussion. But even with Tillman, Judy's been awesome, and he's getting bucket loads of targets because this passing volume in this Browns offense is just huge. I really do think I'm at a point where like I would probably go with, sure, Tyreek always has the potential to score a 60-yard touchdown, and that it can make a great week for you. He's not doing that this year. He's not doing it. Whether it be Jonnu Smith taking work, good Lord, Jonnu's awesome. Jonnu's awesome this year.
Good Lord.
What a great signing. I remember this offseason when that happened, and I was like, this might be good. I'm not really sure.
It's crazy.
Whether it be Devon Achane taking the work. Hey, a Dolphins wide receiver scored almost 30 fantasy points this week. Thank God. Tyreek Hill owners rejoice. Wrong. It was Jalen Waddle. You don't have to start Tyreek Hill anymore. You don't have to. If you have better options.
4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And this is Tyreek's stat line. I mean, I feel like people are,
9.8.
Some people are going to approach this and say, like, I can't not start Tyreek because I can't have him on the bench the one time, when he finally does this. So I get it.
What are you going to be more mad about? What are you going to be more mad about? That you keep starting Tyreek and he scores you 10 points? Or that you bench Tyreek and that's when he had his 30 bomb? And if you're listen, it's a finite list. Like I know I just said Jerry Jeudy. That's probably the cutoff for me. But he's probably around the 25th wide receiver on that list of like people that it's like, or around like 25th or 30th. Like it's.
This is a
I almost want to play the game now. Like I almost want to play. Like I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what? Like Lad.
Let me pull. I'll pull up some players for you.
I'd go Lad over Tyreek.
Yeah, let me look at Tyreek Hill right now. Okay, going into week 13 is the wide receiver 25. That is disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, but would you
draft him second overall?
I mean, people draft him first.
Goodness.
I mean, could stick around for next episode. We're going to talk about some of the biggest turkeys in the year. But I mean, would you start DJ Moore over Tyreek Hill after what DJ Moore just did?
This week against Detroit, who you can kind of pass against, you can't run against them. Oh man, yeah. I think I would.
You try it out?
I think so. Yeah. What am I going to lose? They've been comparable throughout the season, and I've seen more ceiling games from DJ Moore over the last 2 weeks than I have from Tyreek since week 2 on. So
crazy.
Like probably.
I mean, would you start Khalil Shakir?
Oh man.
Shakir has scored a double-digit game since week 7.
Such a safe
Every
floor.
game's. He's actually only scored 1 single-digit game in full PPR the entire year. Khalil Shakir. I mean, you talk about Jerry Jeudy. He's wide receiver 30 on the year.
I'd probably. Shakir's higher than that, right? Shakir's what? Shakir's top 20 on the week, right?
Shakir's 20. Shakir is 27 on the year.
27 on the year. Okay.
So he's
but he just had a bye week. But he just had a bye week. So
yeah.
I mean,
you start Jordan Addison.
I'd start Addison.
Oh, you start Jalen Waddle over Tyreek Hill, though, right?
No.
If you happen to have both,
I don't think I would.
Tyreek?
I think I'd still go Tyreek. Because, like, yes, it's been really sad, and it's not what you drafted for. 9.8 probably didn't lose you your week. And that's like that's still like a full point more than Waddle's been averaging. So that's where. But yeah, but there's between 25 and 30 wide receivers to have the conversation about, and that sucks. You drafted him 101. You drafted him top 3. Like this is.
You can leave it in the comments.
There's a new identity. Trollers. There's a new leave it in the comments. But there's a new identity in the Miami offense, and it goes through. It was the explosive big play before, and now it's we're gonna drive the field. I don't know.
Who is the worst wide receiver you'd still start over Tyreek Hill? That's the question that we have
Drop
to
it in the
ask right
comments.
now.
Yeah.
Drop it in the comments.
Yeah. Let's move
Great
on.
question.
Christian McCaffrey, 7.8 fantasy points. I'm going to call a little fluky here just because Purdy wasn't playing. The offense fell a little broken. I do want to say, though, and I guess it's to be expected, but he hasn't looked the same.
No, he has Achilles tendonitis in both of his legs.
Right. And so he's managing it. And I mean, like he scored like 14 points and 16 points each of his first 2 weeks. So it's like, it's fine. He's like a RB2 for your team right now. And I think and he hasn't scored touchdowns yet, but it's so annoying because that division is so tight that it's like they can still, it's actually good for McCaffrey owners because they're still going to keep fighting for a playoff spot at this point. So
yeah,
but 7.8 sucks obviously, but without Purdy, I think the offense is just a little doomed from the start. So you're going to keep playing him. Jonathan Taylor, here's a guy that you don't have to keep playing. Oh, actually, that might have been too hot of a thing to say to start off. It's hard. This is what I was talking about last year when they drafted Anthony Richardson. Of these running backs with mobile quarterbacks tend to not produce the same way. He's not involved in the passing game at all. He has 2 targets over the last 2 weeks. That sucks. Crazy. Like, that sucks. Yeah. You keep playing him, but this is like my panic levels are pretty high.
I think so too. I think this is a concern. I think you're stuck unless you have great depth through the waiver wire or you just drafted running back heavy. I think you are stuck with Jonathan Taylor. But I see this more as for real than anything.
Yeah, I think so. This is going to be a disappointing couple weeks for you. Justin Jefferson, 4.7 fantasy points. We talked about him a little bit when we talked about Jordan Addison. It'll happen sometimes. It was a tough pass defense, but I mean, I think you still keep rolling him out. He's Hawkinson and Addison. And they even asked Jefferson about his performance, and he was like, I eat or everyone eats. Like, and I'm gonna let everyone eat. He wasn't bothered by his performance, is what it sounded like. So, but you keep rolling him out. I think it's fine there, and I think better days to come for sure. Deebo Samuel, talked about him last week on Fluke for Real. Just want to mention it again here because 3.1 fantasy points is a little bit to talk about here because, again, the kind of the McCaffrey situation, Purdy wasn't there, but this sucks. Like, you can
bench him.
Yeah, if I have 30 guys I would have a conversation about with Tyreek, I think I have probably 40 that I have a conversation about Deebo.
Yeah, I mean, I was left no choice in one league because of bye weeks, but yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll start Deebo for the rest of the year.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, we had him in the Creators League we're in, and he's probably read the bench for sure. So, especially because we got Taysom Hill in that league, dude. Picked him up. Let's go, bro. Just ride with the punches. A couple tight ends here to close it out. Brock Bowers, 7.8 fantasy points, 4 catches on 10 targets for 38 yards. I'd like to think that he's quarterback proof, and I don't remember what happened when Aiden O'Connell came in for the brief few games that he played. I think Bowers still did fine.
I think he was still fine. Yeah, we get 10 targets.
However, I will say, Minshew went out on their second to last drive, and then they went 3 and out on that drive, and they had like an 8 or 9 play drive with Ritter to end the game, and Bowers didn't get a single target when Ritter was out there. So probably just having to do with like you didn't practice all week and we weren't planning for you to come in the game, and so he was looking for like speedy Trey Tucker who was just getting wide open kind of like short area plays. But
and the game was out of hand.
Bowers should be fine, and the game was out of hand. So yeah, there you go. Kate Otten, here's the one that is a bit of a. I'm a little worried.
I'm a little worried. Only a little.
It's only a little, but I am a little worried. I'm like, oh man. With Evans back, that was really like that was all he needed. Like Godwin was great, but Otten's not. I mean, they won 30-7, so maybe it just wasn't. I mean, he only had 3 targets.
Okay. I think you can chalk this up to the Giants' complete dysfunctional organization. I think you can look at this. You can say we probably should have wised up and like Baker is probably a good play for fantasy, but like I think we can understand that like the Giants. Oh my gosh. There's nothing redeeming about them. Yeah,
No.
and like Malik Neighbors was almost in this, but he had enough of a respectable score to not be totally in Fluke for real. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if in like another week or so we see Brian Dable fired. Like if the whole thing just completely explodes.
Well, dude, there was like a semi-credible source on Twitter. A tweet was going around that it was like the Giants have fired head coach Brian Dable and GM Joe Schoen. And it was like, what? And then I didn't see anyone else report on it, but a lot of people were reacting to it. And it was like, has this happened? Like, is this so? Yeah,
that's weird. Maybe it hasn't happened yet, but we're recording this. You know our schedule Monday night.
Fire the GM. I still like Dable, man. I fire the GM who gave Jones that contract and let Saquon walk. And
all this, I think, together is for Cade Otton and Mike Evans. I think is how could they ever need to compete against the Giants?
Right. Yeah.
So
fair. So
I don't even know how the Buccaneers
in the tight end landscape
30+ points.
Safe to roll around to roll out Cade Otton still, but if it happens again next week, it's more of a concern. Did you see Neighbors talking to the press after the game?
No, please tell me. Was it great?
More or less was like he didn't have a single target in the first half. I want to mention that real quick.
Oh yeah, I was aware.
And then he ended with 6, like 5 for 64 or whatever, something like that. But he was asked about it, and he was like, I mean, I started getting targets down 30-0. That can't be what happens. He was like, that can't happen. I mean, I started getting targets down 30. Like that's, I don't know what more to do here, dude. That whole organization is so. I think they're just gonna resign from the league.
They're gonna sell the teams. It'll be 31 teams next season.
Anyway, that's gonna do it for 4th and Troll. Thank you for hanging out with us for a week 12 recap. Let us know who you're excited to watch play on Thanksgiving, and make sure you start out your Thanksgiving with us over here on 4th and Troll, as we've got a Thursday release on Thanksgiving Day, as opposed to our usual Friday release of a 4th and Troll Thanksgiving special. It's going to be a fun time. Make Twitter the Troll smile by liking, subscribing, and ringing the bell. Make sure you follow us on all our socials. Everything is linked down below. And we will see you next time on Thanksgiving. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy.
4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media and Selby Artistic Workshop.